Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Capital Boost is trying to solve a big problem, and that's the lack of limited funding options for SMEs in Southeast Asia. SMEs within the region make up about 95% of total businesses. They generate about 70% of total employment, and yet only 15 to 20% of SME loans are approved by banks. To fix this, we have created a crowdfunding platform which matches investors and SMEs who need funding for asset purchases. Our funding is through Murabaha structure, which is a cost plus profit sales structure. So how it works is that if an SME requires to purchase an asset, our investor will purchase the assets for the SME initially. The SME can use the assets, but they promise to buy back the assets from the investor at a higher price in future. The difference in price is the profit margin and the return which the investors will get. We believe we offer a better solution versus the current funding options. Versus bank, we have a higher approval rate and a faster and friendlier funding process. And versus money lenders, of course, we have better rates and a less stressful experience. Surely there's an increasing number of P2P funding platforms in Asia, but we believe we have a strong differentiation. For one, we are Sharia compliant and ethical. We're the only P2P Sharia compliant platform here in Asia, and we believe this gives us an opportunity to tap the large Muslim population within the region. We are using the asset purchase model, which we believe lowers investor risk. For one, investor cannot misuse the funds which are given to them because they have to buy assets with it. And for two, investors own the assets until it is purchased by the SMEs. So in that sense, the investors will have some security or some form of collateral. And third, we are regional. Other P2P platforms are focused in one country, like Singapore or Malaysia, but we are going into Singapore and Indonesia, and soon we'll be entering the Malaysian market as well. We have our own proprietary credit scoring system based on 15 years of credit research experience, and we believe we have strong partnerships, which we'll talk about a bit later. We are trying to solve a second problem, and that's the lack of a Sharia-compliant investments within the world. As you know, Muslims make up about a quarter of the global population, but if you look at the total Islamic financial asset, it makes up less than the whole global financial assets. And so, looking at our target market of upper middle class adults globally, we believe we have a target market of around 30 million Muslims worldwide. But in order to be able to successfully target these investors, we believe we must do one thing, and that's to reduce risk. So we have several layers of risk management. For one, SMEs who want to get funding from us will need to meet several requirements. First, they have to be in operation for at least 1 year. They have to have sales of at least 100,000 Singapore dollars. They have to have a positive free cash flow over the past 12 months. And we also prefer SMEs which have purchase orders. So we know that there's going to be some form of cash flow coming in the future. We have a strong, stringent due diligence process based on our own credit scoring system, which looks at business risk, financial risk, and also corporate governance risk of these SMEs. And we also look at social media activities of owners to determine their credit worthiness. We believe we have an investor-friendly funding structure. That is, we focus on short-term investments of around 3 to 6 months. And at the same time, as I've mentioned earlier, the Murabaha structure does provide some protection for our investors. For funding that's more than 3 months, we normally ask for a monthly repayment as well to reduce the risk of a big repayment towards the end of the investment period. In terms of our partnership, for credit analysis, we have a partnership with UK-based startup called Friendly Score. They look at credit worthiness of business owners through social media activities, looking at Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well. In terms of member acquisition, we have a partnership with Club Ethis to share investor database. And for client acquisition, we work closely with various SME associations within the region. For example, in Indonesia, we work with Tangan di Atas, the largest SME association, which has around 30,000 members of SMEs. Through them, they can actually do the first level of screening and due diligence. They can do the monitoring of the SMEs and also enforce the payment to the investors. Our strategy, we're currently starting with a crowdfunding. We are getting our revenue from an admin fee of around 4 to 5% of the total funding amount. But we'd like to diversify to direct lending going forward, which will allow us to increase our sales and profit margin of around 20% on an annualized basis. We have a relatively small but diverse and experienced team. Myself, I've been 15 years in the financial market in Asia, starting out with Standard & Poor's, and I've worked with credit research teams at Barclays and Credit Suisse. Mr. Umar Munshi is an entrepreneur. He's focused on the business development and marketing. We have Mr. Ronald Wijaya, our Indonesian representative, who helps us with our business in Indonesia, and Mr. Zaki Masturi is focused on Islamic banking sector. That's his experience, that's his forte. And one more crucial member is Mr. Abdul Rahman, who is our legal partner. He's right over there. We are growing strongly, fast. We started in mid-July, but so far we've already had 8 projects, raising a total of around 250 Singapore dollars. We have around 800 member investors, and we've spent little on marketing, around $200 mainly on social media. We believe we can grow much faster. In terms of expansion needs, we are looking for seed funding right now to grow our business, to grow our team, and to cover operation needs for the next 18 months. We're looking for seed funding of around $300 US, and we are looking for a partner who can provide mentoring, who can assist us in terms of our growth, especially on the tech sector, and who can be with us on our road to an eventual IPO in future, inshallah. So that, in a nutshell, is a Capital Boost. We basically combine crowdfunding with Islamic finance to help small businesses here in Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Early, for that. Sorry. Let's move forward to some questions. I can just think of one on the top of my head. Currently, there are funding options for SMEs here in Malaysia. What do you think of those readily available government-sanctioned funding options?
Definitely, we've spoken with a few SME associations here. They mentioned there are options, but it's not always easy for SMEs to get them because they need to prepare all these paperworks. With us, it's a bit more flexible. Definitely, we do our due diligence, but it's less formal in terms of the information which we need. The approval is probably much easier compared to getting a bank loan or compared to getting a government grant or government subsidies. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions for Early? If you'd like to engage with Early on his platform, please do kindly speak to him off stage. Thank you very much for sharing.